Hey, how y'all doing? It's Snoo here. I got a surprise video for you. Something completely out of left field. Was not on my radar whatsoever for a video to be making in the future, but I couldn't hold myself back. I had to bring this information to the community at large. I think a lot of you are going to want to hear it, especially those of you who have been following my Tornado Shot Deadeye build. I am in the middle of transitioning from that build into a Headhunter variant right now with Magic Find. It's totally not finished. By all means, check the POV in the description below to see where I'm at exactly right now if you want to kind of get the headwind for that, where I'm going. But don't copy the build exactly as it is. Because I'm in a transition time period, I was testing a few things. I'm having to get an Omniscience. There's an Omniscience now involved. There's a Timeless Jewel now involved. Inspired Learning is gone. I'm dealing with resistance caps, fluctuations, attribute requirements, things like that. Trying to get Magic Find on the gear. And therefore, I was testing a few things that I've never tested before, including a particular pair of Forbidden Jewels. I did have some jewel slots opening up at the same time on this, and the results were just blowing my socks off. We'll just put it that way. Proliferation is going to be the word of the day, the word of the video. And when I say proliferation, I am including the technical definition. I know there's, if you search proliferation on PoE Ninja, or sorry, PoE Wiki, I guess, it's going to give you like an actual technical definition in game. But for the sake of semantic overload, I'm going to tell you right here, right now, that when I use that word, I'm actually referring to basically any kind of situation where you put a debuff or a killing blow on a monster, and then that sort of effect or some sort of major effect is then transferred over to nearby monsters, and it can chain domino effect itself. So that includes things like, heck, Rampage includes things like Detonate Dead, Gloom Shrine, on death effects like that. Everything included in that, as well as elemental ailments, which is actually going to be what this one is about. So yeah, you guys all know I'm all about the Gloom Shrine. I'm all about clearing maps as efficiently as I possibly can, and I gotta say, the Gloom Shrine's been something of a Pandora's box for me as I've played this game. Ever since discovering it, obviously it's very good for supplementing the build if it's just not quite up to snuff for the content you're trying to do, whether it's in the very beginning and you just don't have the damage or the clear, or you're in the mid game and you're trying to juice things up a little bit beyond what you can handle. But even me, I like using it at like the ultra end game level and just blowing through the map, making it faster than ever before. And that is honestly a big secret to some of my success as far as how much currency per hour I can make. In my farm videos, you'll notice that my clear speed and clear efficiency is absolutely off the charts usually. And I will even sacrifice things like offense, defense, Magic Find just to get a little bit more clear speed in the way of a Gloom Shrine. I'll even sacrifice a Sextant slot, which is a pretty big sacrifice to make in a particular farming strategy if you want, or if that strategy kind of calls for 4 different Sextant slots. That can hurt a lot. So that's what I mean when I say it's been a bit of a Pandora's box. And I think after today, I might have just found something that manages to close that Pandora's box once and for all, at least for a elemental hit-based ranger character. And the reason I phrase it like that is because it's going to be all about a particular set of forbidden jewels. Let me show them to you right here. And this is Fury of Nature. So Forbidden Flame, Forbidden Flesh. I'm not going to talk about the expense on them. You know, they cost a few divines to collect these, both outright. I was a little bit reluctant to even test these. I swear I almost didn't even test this, which would have sucked so bad if I didn't even try this out. But it says here, you can see non-damaging elemental ailments you inflict spread to nearby enemies in a radius of 20. That's 20 units or 20 yards, I guess. A pretty decent size, and I think it is affected by increased AoE. For example, here in a Dying Sun, we have 20% increased area of effect during Flask effect. I do believe it's affected by that. I've also seen its effect compounded by things like Headhunter buffs as well. And then the second line says, non-damaging elemental ailments you inflict have 100% more effect. Now, I read that line, and I was like thinking to myself, so this is non-damaging, so it does not include Ignite. It does not include things like, you know, the holy grail of proliferation was, I think, was back in like 3.14. We had an elemental Burning Arrow Elementalist, if you guys remember those days. That was my first build, by the way. And it's not that insane, so we'll just put that to rest. But so this is non-damaging elemental ailments. It says on the list which ones it includes. So for me, in my character, it includes chilled, basically chilled, frozen, and shocked are the ones that are really important here. So what does that mean? Well, in case you are not familiar with the build, I have a lot of increased effect of elemental elements. I also have just chance to hit with elemental elements with things like the Taming, for example. Just straight up 10% chance to freeze, shock, and ignite. I'm even running Calamitous right now, which is 10% chance to freeze, shock, and ignite. Now, I do plan to be switching out of some of these things, but of course, crits still count. And then I have this mastery, 50% increased effect of non-damaging elements you inflict with critical strikes. So there's just a lot of power in the elemental ailments that I have here. So I thought, you know, maybe I should test this out, just see what it's like, right? And the reason I wanted to see what it was like is because I know that this Herald right here, Herald of Ice, or in this particular case, Divergent Herald of Ice, packs quite a punch when it comes to proliferation. It does effectively act like a proliferating damage boost. It's wonderful in the leveling portion of the game. If any of you actually leveled as Tornado Shot, used this Herald, you would have seen just how smooth it, or how much it smoothed out the leveling experience. I kind of drop it though later on for Herald of Purity, but then I can pick it back up again once I go low life and change the reservation thing. So I'm able to fit 2 major auras, 2 heralds, a full vitality, and I could even put in a low rank clarity potentially with a Watcher's Eye if I want to do that later on. But it does require, in this case, a level 4 Enlightened support as well as a level 3 Enlightened support, and it requires the corruption on here. So this is kind of big game stuff. This is definitely, so if you're wanting to look forward to doing what I'm doing here, you would probably have to just straight up drop Herald of Purity, or potentially, you know, go the extra mile, get the corruption, get the enlightened supports, and you can fit both of them in there, because it does hurt to lose Herald of Purity. That is a lot of extra physical DPS before conversion. But anyway, Herald of Ice, I see it as kind of like a substitute for the Gloom Shrine, but it's nowhere near as good. Just by itself, it's nowhere near as good. Until I put on these 2 jewels. So that's what we're going to see here today. Now, I'm about to run 4 maps. I have them right here. They are safe maps. I've made sure they're rolled so, you know, one map isn't crazy, like 80% increased monster life or something insane like that, or they're not likely to kill me either. And the reason I'm going to run 4 maps is I'm going to showcase to you exactly what kind of damage I do, or rather proliferation. So again, the focus actually on this one is going to be explicitly proliferation. I'm going to show you what my build looks like currently with the damage, defense, everything I have, with 0 proliferation whatsoever. So just relying on the power of Tornado Shot, and, you know, having things like Ricochet in there. Certainly, it certainly has pretty good clear with no proliferation. But then I'm going to show you a second run, and that one I'm going to use the Gloom Shrine. So you can just see, it's going to be night and day, just how fast I can clear the map and efficiently. I can clear the map with the Gloom Shrine. Then I'm going to take the Gloom Shrine out and show you what Herald of Ice by default does. Just Herald of Ice as a standalone. And then for the very last map, for the 4th map, I'm going to show you what Herald of Ice in conjunction with Nature's Fury, I think it was called. Double check here. Or Fury of Nature, sorry. Fury of Nature. We're going to show you what that looks like. So you can skip to the 4th map. It's going to be in the timestamp down below if you're someone who doesn't want to watch the entire test. But I implore you to watch the entire test, because you're not really going to get the full context of how much difference it shows if you don't at least take a look at each individual map, okay? So let's get started with map number 1. I have everything in here already. So I am just going to straight up remove these jewels right now. So this is no Gloom Shrine, no extra proliferation, actually no Herald of Ice either. I'm going to even remove Herald of Ice. And you see it's going to have, obviously, some ramifications on my health pool. But anyway, that's all right. Let's get into this first map. I'm going to just do my normal strategy here, which includes Strongbox, Enraged, increased quantity from monsters there, a Delirium Mirror. Hunted Traders is just right, kind of there as a substitute. This is where I usually do the Gloom Shrine, but I'm now showing you without a Gloom Shrine, so Hunted Traders is kind of nice. I was putting Beyond in there as well. Oh yeah, Atlas Passage, if you want to take a look at it, that I will link that down below as well. It is kind of a new tree, a little bit new and improved. Beyond is actually getting a buff here at the end of the week, so I'm looking forward to this. I think it'll slide in nicely with the buffs coming to Beyond. Hopefully, I've noticed that Beyond monsters don't drop much of anything and don't have hardly any rares involved. I guess that's going to change a little bit. You could potentially drop Dance of Destruction for the other 3 remaining quantity wheel side here, but yeah, that's kind of where we're at here. So here it is, map number 1. So again, I have plenty of farming videos. You've seen me do plenty of farming. This is, I guess, the first time I'm showcasing Headhunter this league. I also had to drop the Ballista Totem support to do this, but this is what I have to do in order to squeeze in this here Divination Distillate, which is a lot of magnifying power. It's essentially the first magnifying item I put on. So you kind of see me clear. You can see that I'm definitely not just like killing everything as I walk by. A lot of stuff dies, and a lot of the arrows ricochet, and there's definitely some chaining going on here. But there's no proliferation. If I kill a monster, it doesn't necessarily mean the monster next to it's going to take a whopping blow after it. Also, you see that my damage against the boss is kind of low, although that's actually pretty variable depending on what headhunter buffs I have. I have 14 headhunter buffs right now. Should actually prove to be pretty decent, as a matter of fact. I will have 1 or 2 shrines on each map unless I happen to proc. Bit the farm there. Okay, it's not a big deal. At least not on the first map. I certainly didn't want the first map to cause me any problems. Okay, here we go. Once again, I guess I lost the deli mirror, so that's unfortunate. But at least on the drive-by up towards the boss, you got to see. And I'll obviously indirectly do a lot more damage now that the delirium mirror is down. So a bit of a scuffed map, but it's okay. If I was going to scuff any of the maps, the first one needs to be the one that I scuffed, so that the next ones you'll be able to see. It kind of proves a point that the map's a bit harder. You know, when I have 0 proliferation, you're going to see how much easier these maps are. Now I'm still going to run this map in full. I'm going to do it all the way through, and this video is going to be uncut in its entirety. I don't think too many people are going to get bored watching me kill a bunch of monsters and get a bunch of loot. Unless, you know, you want to, you can, by all means, skip to the next timestamp on map number 2 where I showcase the Gloom Shrine. Coming up momentarily. A lot of strong boxes here. Suddenly I seem much safer. Major issues now. Honestly, with the way the map rolled, pretty unlucky that I died right there. I just kind of flew right into a Harbinger that had all his minions spin right in the middle of a hallway. And it did not go well for me. Okay, that's some nice loot there. I think we've got to clear the other side first. And you can see I am able to clear like strongbox monsters spawn. They mostly seem to die almost right away, with or without any proliferation. But as far as, again, you're going to notice a big difference when it comes to the beginning of the map, when I have the least number of headhunter buffs, when I'm at my weakest, most likely to die. That's when it's going to matter the greatest. What I ultimately show you here. In fact, it's honestly going to make the difference between me successfully leveling or not. So I just lost some bars of experience. You can see, you can see that I have some experience going on, and that it looks like I'm leveling from 97 to 98. And I think I will actually level. Even doing this crazy juiced content, I can probably successfully level all the way up to 98 now. Whereas before, it was a bit sketch. I wasn't sure if I was going to level. You know, doing things like this with this King Harbinger in the hallway can prove to be quite dangerous, even with a number of headhunter buffs. Okay, so this map I believe is done. I'm not terribly worried about any additional loot. Here we go. So that's the first map. I'm going to deposit all the loot.
My mana is gone.
I think I should just dump straight in there. Nice. Got a lot of nice scarabs there. A couple of good divination cards. Look like anything of real value actually dropped from the strong boxes themselves. Here, so I'm gonna, let's see here. Gotta remove the sextant right quick. I'd rather not waste it if possible. So we're gonna substitute out Hunter Traders for the Gloom Shrine in this case. We're gonna start the second map. Here comes map number 2 with the Gloom Shrine. There it is. You can read it in there. It's gonna look a lot different, honestly. Definitely gonna look a bit different. Put the sextant back in here, so we're all good to go. Won't have to mess with the sextant anymore. So as you can see, this is at the Gloom Shrine, and I don't automatically start with this power. One of the big problems here is I have to go find the shrine, right? I have to go find it, and now I have to pray that I don't die, because if I die, well, that's going to be a major problem, because then I'm going to lose the Gloom Shrine for the rest of the map. You also see that it has about 2 minutes left. Now 2 minutes is a lot of time for how fast I clear the map, but it does mean there's a lot of stipulations on how I clear the map. I need to make a build that is capable of essentially doing the entire map in 2 minutes or less. In order to feel like it's a good idea to put on there. But you can see how just incredibly easygoing this is. Like, everything just dies, and everything next to it dies, and open a strong box, and it doesn't even really have a chance to spawn almost. And then here we'll go into the boss room with 24 headhunter buffs. It should die pretty quickly. Yeah, it looked like I had a pretty nice selection of headhunter buffs there. With some Fizz gained his extra elemental damage. Still got to be careful though, defensively. Random Harbinger here in the boss room. That naturally dropped nothing of any value. So I'm going to go through here. And this is the part where it just feels like really nice. This is why I love the Gloom Shrine, just right here. I mean, it's leaving basically no monster alive. Even when I run beyond and they spawn after the fact, quite often still kills everything. As I run by, it's just so awesome, and it really helps to keep my rampage up and running. So you got 1,000 stacks of rampage. It's all too easy to keep up with this thing if you're able to move as fast as this and just clear everything out as quickly as this. And it certainly does promote a style of play where you kill first, ask questions later, or should I say kill first, loot later. I think is probably the more accurate way to state that. And I've basically killed everything, right? So I just got to go around and loot everything in the map now. Should be pretty easy. Still moving pretty fast. I would like to get my onslaught going. There we go. We got some onslaught now. I got the Headhunter's version of hasted. 60 full seconds of haste. That's 50% increased movement speed. That's a nice boost to the movement speed from the Headhunter. Although obviously Headhunter is nowhere near as powerful as it was in the past. 2 seasons ago, I guess it was. Oh, now the Gloom Shrine is down. You could even I could even feel like when I killed the monsters in that strongbox right there, they did not die all at once. See, they will not die all at once. Will not even necessarily all die as I clear them, and that could spell danger for me potentially. But that's just kind of what I'm dealing with here because now it's gone. And again, another downside of the Gloom Shrine. I need basically 3 major downsides. Downside number 1 is I lose a sexton altogether for my farming strategy. Downside number 2 is I gotta go find it first. And then downside number 3 is it's not gonna last the entire map, probably. Yeah, so that's a lot of downsides when it comes to using Gloom Shrine. And that's what I meant when I say Pandora's box. You know, it's just kind of a Pandora's box on that. Okay, so this is gonna be with Herald of Ice, standard Herald of Ice. Now I started getting comfortable with the ideas of using Herald of Ice in place for the Gloom Shrine, and you know it's not the greatest. Hopefully you're able to kind of remember what you saw on maps number 1 and 2, but you see Hunter Traders is back in here, so it's just like the same thing again. You're gonna get to see how it's kind of like the Gloom Shrine, but definitely nowhere near as powerful. So take a look at this. We got another Deli Mirror map coming up here. And there we go. You can kind of see it proliferating through there. I'll open a strongbox. You can kind of see it there. It does look pretty nice, especially with the strongbox, right? And yeah, it definitely seems to be working all right. It looks like actually I got a little lucky here and I got an AoE buff immediately. But it's not actually as good as what you're going to see later on. See, it's still not really killing everything. It's killing most things as I run by. It looks like I actually got kind of lucky with the Headhunter buffs. For the purpose of the showcase, I do want to express the fact that this is looking a little better than usual right now, and it's really on account of a unique selection of Headhunter buffs that seem to be giving me a bit more damage and AoE than I normally have. But that's okay. I think you'll still be able to see a difference there at the end. Alright, King Harbinger down. We'll freeze the mirror a lot. Apparently I spawned June in here, so that sucks. Don't want to mess with that. Just takes monsters off of the map, sadly. Yeah, not bad, but you can see there's still some things definitely surviving behind me. It's definitely not clearing, definitely not fully cleared the map. But here we go. Now, strong boxes are going to go down pretty well. It's looking pretty nice, isn't it? Like, doesn't look too different from the Gloom Shrine, actually. Not too different. Just a little bit weaker. A little bit weaker. But, as you can see, I'm still coming around, having to go around back again and clear the stuff again. Not just from opening the strong box again, but it's just not killing everything, obviously, as you can see. Okay, everything did die on that strong box. Okay. I think pretty much looting at this point. Oh, yeah. Gonna go for a level 21 on Divergent, or Anomalous, I think it was, Anomalous? Divergent, sorry, Divergent. For the extra chance to freeze seems to be pretty nice in my opinion. Gonna be going for 2120 versions of those, so I'm leveling them in my quiver right now. Leveling gems in your offhand weapon and quiver is a very smart idea to do that. I like leveling gems I want as 2120s in my quiver, and then eventually I'll upgrade them to Awakened, level 6 20s, as well go for my quiver, and then eventually I'll just start leveling gems for profit, essentially. But leveling them myself, I basically don't lose money even when I brick them, for the most part. And I think this map is basically done. Oh, a couple more strong boxes. Yeah, okay. Not looking too bad. Alright. That did hit a little bit harder than I remember it hitting as far as just Herald of Ice by itself and its proliferation capacity. But let's see if we can notice a difference here when I input these two jewels in here. They actually have a lot of ramifications beyond just what Herald of Ice does. It has huge ramifications for how shock works. For example, if I shock a weak enemy next to a strong enemy, that massive shock variable will then get inputted into the strong enemy, and it's going to take way more damage. I estimate it's got to be at least 15% more damage taken by monsters, because shock already has a default 15. Even just baseline shock is 15% more damage taken by monsters. Considering this doubles the effectiveness of whatever shock I put on there, that's guaranteed at least 30%. It caps out at 50%, so most of the time I think it's going to be probably 50%. Now actually I don't want to run that map. Yeah, that one had a chance to avoid ailments, so that would not be good for the showcase. This is the one I want to run, and you can see it's pretty easy. It's not going to be too much trouble, hopefully. That would look really bad if I somehow die on this one. But here we go. We got Divergent,
I'm not up to that.
Herald of Ice, combined with Fury of Nature. Let's see what this looks like. Get a little bit of damage even before the ramp up really kicks in. I mean, it's just going to clear so effortlessly. Every single monster that dies explodes into ice now. Every single one of them, almost without exception. That's so much extra damage, and almost every single monster that dies is also shocked, like, massively at the same time. It also is going to affect these bosses here. These twin bosses are going to be taking extra shocks against each other. So that's a cool little side point that you wouldn't see normally. I got a little Harbinger in here. I think I will kill him. He's going to lose some of the mirror time, but I'll try to race my way back down there. Look at this. I mean, this is just... It's almost hard on the system, actually. I've noticed my computer almost stressing out a bit over this. It's just absolutely outrageous what this is doing. And so I definitely think if you're someone who's running Tornado Shot especially, or again, any sort of hit-based Deadeye, or especially Deadeye. Especially Deadeye, because Deadeye has the issue of Forbidden Jewels and not really having any terrific options. I was looking at possibly going one with Frenzy Charges from the Raider tree, as I am running 5 Frenzy Charges right now. But I think I found a clear winner, obviously one that just completely replaced. I think this is actually even better than the Gloom Shrine, in all honesty, especially when I have as much damage as I do right now. It's just ridiculous what this does. So much more proliferation going on than even with the just baseline. Now it does cost 2 jewels, and maybe you're looking at this thinking, you know, I may not want to pay 2 full jewel slots for this. But I'm telling you what, I mean, I've been doing a lot of runs, and I certainly know how to prioritize clearing efficiency, and from a personal standpoint, I can say this is an absolute winner. Whether you are someone who is like just league starting this with my build with Soul Thirst, or if you're someone who is like on the ultra end game cusp, doing Magic Find with a Headhunter, and you know you're sacrificing a lot of damage, and you could definitely use some more proliferation in your build. Look into these 2 jewels together. This is just ridiculous. So much fun. it makes me feel really good about honestly closing that Pandora's box known as the Gloom Shrine that I've left open for about 3 leagues straight now. Every single time I build a strategy around how to do a particular farming strategy, I have the hardest time not including the Gloom Shrine on there, even if I want 4 sextants for something. And I don't think I'm going to have that problem anymore. Map is almost done. A couple Harbingers left. You can see you really feel the difference, especially before you get any Headhunter buffs and you're dealing with sort of lack of ramp up still yet, that sort of thing. As you know, Headhunter has been nerfed a bit, so these sorts of things matter a lot more than they used to. Being able to build a well-rounded character, in this case one that happens to excel at Proliferation. So Tornado Shot, already very good at clearing things. You add in some stellar Proliferation, and you have yourself an absolute insane character in the Crimson Temple with Ricochet. And I think this is actually so big that I think it's impacting my decision to swap over to Raider as I go Magic Find. I'm already looking at Raider. It's kind of the last point I'll drive home. So anyone who's kind of paying attention to the evolution of my build. As you know, Raider comes with a hefty size, free phasing and a hefty size of spell suppression. The spell suppression has been nullified as far as how much that gives because we're just getting so much more on the tree. I can still build a character that doesn't need any spell suppression on my gear, and then I'm fine, right? I still have it all on the tree. I even have a few points here I haven't taken yet, and I happen to be running a Quartz Flask covering that. But if I wasn't running the Quartz Flask, I'd take these 2 points, capped anyway. And we also have the fact that Elemental Ailment Avoidance has been, cucked, for lack of a better word, from the harvest changes. Can no longer get harvest implicit to target avoid, say, shock and freeze immunity, which I had. I had 4 dedicated jewels last league, 2 with the reduced 15% chance to avoid shock, 2 with 15% chance to avoid freeze, and I became freeze and shock immune by virtue of that and was able to unlock one of the other major pantheons. I think I chose Soul of Lunaris. No, I chose Soul of Solaris, actually, for that one, and that was nice, but I can't really do that now because it's just so inconvenient to get elemental ailment avoidance completely without doing a major sacrifice on your gear, either sacrificing damage or magic find in this case. And I also know that I'm going to be farming Crimson Temple a lot this league, and Crimson Temple is, of course, amazing. For divination card farming, it always seems to be the most lucrative thing I'm doing, and therefore the Deadeye excels here because it gets Ricochet. And Ricochet is huge damage increase in a tile set like Crimson Temple, as opposed to the Cemetery, where I just ran chain, didn't worry about having to chain off walls. Arrows go into walls, not a big deal because there's not many walls on Cemetery, or Dunes for that matter. So I may switch out a Windward at some point if I don't need it. Honestly, when I finally get around to dropping... That was with a Lionized Glare, by the way, the whole thing you just saw. When I get to dropping Lionized Glare, I may actually sub out Windward for Long Shot, or rather Far Shot. Maybe Focal Point, but hell, I may even test Occupying Force, as a matter of fact, for efficiency purposes. Not sure yet where we're going exactly, but the journey is great. Definitely enjoyed this moment. It's not every day, you play a build 2 or 3 leagues straight, you theory craft the bejesus out of it, and everything's going really well. You make a formal video build guide over the build, and then even after all of that, something just comes out of left field like, whoa, like this is incredibly strong and may actually completely replace the need for me to make a Gloom Shrine. So give it a try. I highly recommend those jewels in conjunction with Herald of Ice. Herald of Ice is great for clearing Proliferation anyway. Yeah, wow. That's it for this video. I got nothing else right now. Definitely going to be some more videos coming out, a bit more farm related. I know some people have been curious what I could do on Promenade. I'm thinking about going over to Promenade, seeing how that shapes up. So look forward to that. In the meantime, good luck on finding an Apothecary for yourself. I know many of you have, and many of you haven't. Sorry to say. But it is definitely a rare card. I'm still at only 2 out of around probably 500 maps now I've probably done. So I am starting to believe maybe it is true that it did actually get nerfed. But I still run into numerous people who found 3 in 100 maps too. So I don't know. Anyway, please ask any comments, questions you have below in the comment section, and be on the lookout for the next video. I'll see you around. Bye for now.